Hey yo, welcome back to Yacht Shop Creations. This is Jim, your humble host. Today we're going to show you a quick, simple fix for some loose screws in a large hatch door. Hey y'all, welcome back to Yacht Shop Creations. This is Jim, your humble host. I'm happy to be with you all and have you all checking out what we're doing today. So we have these hatches that came off a fridge area in a yacht. They're quite large, they're over 50 inches long and 3 feet tall. They have these massive piano hinges on them. Well, what happened is they tore out on one side. So the captain asked me to take a look at it and see what we could do with it. They're made with marine plywood, but that doesn't hold a hinge screw very well, especially not when you have a lot of leverage and you have hydraulics holding it up. So what I'm going to do is show you today how to fix the problem real quick. I have a piece of Stapelli that I want to put into this edge, and then we'll epoxy this in, and then it will give us a much stronger place to fasten the screws into. So what I've done to start with is I've marked where all my existing holes are, and I'll show you how I did that. Simply like this and like this. Now when I route out to inset this piece in, I'm still going to have a line on the bottom and the top to mark that center of that hole where it existed. I also have the hinge as well. I'll have a secondary way to make sure all the holes are in line, and this will be our first way to check those center spots. We're going to keep this little square off to the side. So I have these L brackets on these wood L blocks, and they're going to help us to hold the template on. Now let's get back to the part that actually is interesting and fun. We need to put this piece in here. So what I've done, you notice this plywood still has the hinge catch on it. So I took a piece of plywood and I routed the back side of it out on the table saw. And I'm going to set that right over the hinge catch. So I set that over the part that's still on the edge of the door, which allows it to now sit flush where we have our routing area. Also made a little line on my template, which allows me to know where I kind of want to have this centered at. So that one sits on there like that. Now, as I'm going to press that tight against the little hinge release, make sure it's all the way down, and put a clamp in there. I'm going to go out on this side, do the same thing. Now that's good and it's all secured well. Now, because we're routing this out, this is what we're going to use. We're going to install this. So this is going to be what we're going to set up in the piece, and then we're going to hold our next part of our template right up against that. And we're going to put a clamp in there. Now, I'm going to use my own judgment here to how tight I want that to go in. Because remember, when you're gluing something in, you don't necessarily want it so tight that you have to tap it in with a hammer, because you want glue to be surrounding the area all the way around. And we'll get into that a little bit more when we get closer. But I'm leaving just a little bit of play there, which will also allow for that glue joint. Okay, this moves nicely. It's about what I like. So I'm not going to starve the joint for glue. It's all clamped in. Now, obviously, I don't want to blow out the end of the lid with the router. So let's make that easy for us, and let's put a stop in there, which is going to stop the router from going too far. Set that down in, and we'll go over to the other side and do the same thing. Oh, I just love my work. It's so much fun. So many interesting things, and I'm sure that's why you're watching too, because you also love doing your work. All right, so that part's set up. Now, when we're getting ready to route, I always suggest that you put your earplugs in when routing. Safety glasses. That way nobody gives me too much trouble. You can say nice comments instead of...
You're not wearing your safety glasses.
I'm going to wear them. They're just going to be on top of my head instead of my eyes. All right, so we're using a router or fest tool. This is the 1010. We're going to use top bearing bit. We've already set the depth, so it's not going to touch down on the door right now. Let's get that started. Okay, so now we'll check depth. Our plywood that we're using for the template is 710 thousandths. And right now we're at 1 inch, 139 thousandths. So I'm 429 thousandths in depth in the slot in the door right now. The piece that we're actually going to be putting in there is 909. So I approximately have to go down another 480 thousandths. Reached our depth at this particular bit. This particular router won't allow us to go any deeper. So what we're going to do is we're going to change a bit. I have 2 selections just in case I can't get it quite down far enough. One thing I do really enjoy with the Festool equipment is how easy it is to change a bit. Now, like a question would obviously be, hey, why don't you just go with a long bit? You'll have plenty of distance to do the job. Problem with that is my bearing won't actually start on the template. I would prefer to do 2-bit changes than I would have this go sideways and take off more material than what I actually need to do. Now you could set that right in the center, plunge down to the exact depth, but again, we're trying to do this simple, and I would again rather have my bearings already below the template before I start. I've had plenty of opportunities to make plenty of mistakes, and believe me, every time it's worked out. So now I no longer want to make those mistakes. So let's knock it down a little deeper and take a measurement of what we actually need to do. We already know our material is 710, the template, and we need to go down 900 approximately to get that in there. Go to 925, so let's say we're going to go to 930. So the overall depth from the top is going to have to be 1 inch, 740 thousandths. And right now we're at 1139, so we need to go down just a little further. Now we'll go ahead and start the router again. Perfect. That came out to 940. Our piece is 925, so set in there flat and have a nice bed of epoxy underneath it. Can't get any better than that. So you want to make sure everything's correct before you pull your jig, because it's kind of like why the mafia breaks legs, because it'll never be the same again. You can never put your jig back in the same place. It doesn't work quite so perfect. Now we're ready to pull the jig, set our piece of stapelli down inside. This should fit right down in just about perfect. So it gives me a little bit of a glue tolerance on each side. And if you'll notice, the piece fits as far as length, doesn't fit in the corners because the router bit made a radius. So I just need to knock off the corners just a little bit. And I'll go do that on the sander real fast. Amazing. Nothing left to do but glue it. So we're going to use West System. We'll fill the cavity up, wet it out really nice, and this job's a wrap as soon as the glue dries. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe this down, make sure that we have a really good seal everywhere. And if you notice, there's just a slight bit of a warp in the stapelli. So I need to put a clamp in there, which is also going to help force the epoxy up. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just using a piece of PVC board, which won't stick to the board, or the piece of, or the door casing, or however you want to call it. This won't stick to here as the epoxy is drying. Now I'm just going to wipe this down, fill all the void up. Should have a really nice finished product. So that's how you repair rotted out screw holes for a piano hinge. Worked out really well. It's going to hold the screws for a long time, a lot longer than the plywood did. We hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Y'all have a good one, and stay tuned. We'll have more for you on the ambulance and zebra wood products and a few other things that we're doing. Till next time, be well, make something cool.